What's here, y'all? Welcome back to Red at the Wire. Well, we've got the Stephen Foster Stakes Day at Churchill Downs, and we've got an all stakes pick five to close out the card. And so I think we ought to take a look at it for sure. We do have an individual posting on the Stephen Foster that's already out if you want to take a look at that for a little more in depth analysis. But we'll start the sequence with the Tepin Stakes. It's ungraded at 150,000. Eighth race on the card. By the way, this sequence will comprise races 8 through 12. It's run on a mile and a turf for 3-year-old fillies. Uh, Pretty good field, as you might expect. A lot of times with these 3-year-old only races, we do have a few maidens moving into the stakes ranks. And to be honest, I really couldn't find a whole lot of competitors to the obvious top two, which are Lush Lips and Vixen. Ninth Island, I don't think is good enough to maintain the pace all the way around, particularly when you consider Lush Lips and Vixen do like to do most of their running up amongst the leaders, so I think they'll be pressuring pretty well, and he should wilt. She rather. Something stronger was kind of interesting to me. Now, she's coming out of a maiden win at a sprint, but I really liked the closing kick, and I think she's got the pedigree that says 2 turns is probably going to be pretty good for this one. I think it'll be a good fit, and trying to find somebody who maybe is a little bit outside the box from the others. I did find with quite a few of them in here, there was one thing or another that seems to me that they're not. They're still a lump of clay, if you will. They still need. They still need a little maturity. Um, Love You Anyway, as an example, is a tappet, and all that entails. The last race was pretty good, but drifted out in the stretch. I didn't like. It seemed kind of a grinding turn of foot, which you'll often get with tappets, and just seemed to me a little on the green side. Same thing could be said for Princess Attitude. I initially, when watching the race at the top of the turn, she looked poised and ready to inhale the field, and she had to change leads twice, and it really hampered her performance. I mean, she just flattened right out in the stretch. So that's another one. Looks to be there's some promise there, but still a little green, and going against the more polished two of Lush Lips and Vixen, I didn't really want to take a chance. Vixen to be last race kind of got jammed up a little bit early. Uh, Rallied and ran a pretty good race. We closed pretty well, but flattened out. And I don't think the trouble was enough early to impede the performance, or where you could say, well, yeah, it just ruined the whole race. It didn't. She had plenty of time to rally. And just the fact that she flattened out in the stretch told me maybe it was a little bit of a class issue. So I think Fixin' to Be will run pretty well here, but I don't think it's good enough to overtake Lush Lips or Vixen. And but I would certainly include for under. Favorite to you is really, to be honest, a mystery. Has been running in sprints primarily for Phil D'Amato. His barn's doing very well at Churchill Downs, and Phil ships well. Uh, and he's got Antonio Fresu aboard, who he clicks with very well. Just not enough to go on. California shipping east is always an issue. I mean, Phil D'Amato does it well, but I just want to see one around 2 turns before I'm going to get real excited. I did like the turn of foot. I like whenever you see a horse who can close in a sprint, particularly in California, that's a good thing on the turf. But just have to see a little bit more. So I think we can't deny the class of the top two. Now, if I talk about Lush Lips and Vixen, Vixen, being trained by Mark Cassey and being owned by DJ Stables, has been in the shadow of Nitrogen throughout her entire career. And hey, that's not such a bad place to be. Nitrogen is just a beast. I made the cardinal error of betting against her once, and I will never do it again. She's just a phenomenal horse. Vixen's no slouch though, And when Vixen has not run against nitrogen, she has done pretty well. Uh, I think she's a little more married to her running style than Lush Lips is. I think she likes to rate up amongst the leaders, and I suspect she'll do that here as well. But Lush Lips, I think, demonstrated another dimension last time, and that was coming off the pace. Was a little rank, and that's understandable. She usually was up amongst the leaders, and now being asked to do something, maybe she wasn't overly comfortable with. But she still finished second, and I just think she's got a little more horse than Vixen does. If I would not be surprised if they go back to putting Lush Lips on the lead again, and I think she could take them all the way. That might be a pretty good place to be. Would be a little bit ahead of Vixen and can set the fractions and control the race. But if they want to take her off with Flavian Pratt, I think she can do the job just as well, especially with a race under her belt coming from off the pace. So we're going to go with Lush Lips in the Tepin, but to me, it's a two-horse race. It's between her and Vixen, but I got a little bit of interest if you're looking for the an outside the box option. Maybe something stronger is one to consider in the Tepin. Second leg of the All Stakes Pick 5 is the Kelly's Landing, a Grade 3 run, the ninth race on the card, run at 6.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. This is a race where Booth is certainly the headliner. He has been on quite a roll since something's, Steve Asmussen's unlocked it, and he's just been really tough the last few. One thing I noted about him, and this is why I'm going to try to beat him, it might be a bit of a surprise, but looking at his pace lines, I have noticed that he has had to run increasingly faster on the front end, and consequently, no surprise that his third fraction is decreasing with each race. Now, why that's significant is that, to me, when horses are ready to, I'm not going to say bounce here, but regress after a string of prosperous races, what happens is they get keener and keener on the front end, and consequently they lose it on the back end. And it's my thought that I think this is the race maybe you want to try to beat him. He looks to me like one that I think he's going to be really quick out of the gate, and he'll be joined by Roll On Big Joe. And I think that the pace is going to be pretty quick. And I think it definitely will eat up Roll On Big Joe. He's proven that he can't. He's not as effective when he faces considerable pressure, and the early fractions are tough. Booth certainly in the last race ran a monster, 20 and change for the opening quarter. But I just think this is the denouement right here. I just think this is the time to beat him, and I think it's going to get the better of him. He's a really nice horse, and if he wins it, he'll beat me, and I'll be pretty darn impressed, because I just think it's that it's just time for a regression. That's all. I'm going with Dr. Venkman. He's coming in second off a layoff. This has been a good horse out on the West Coast. He finished a pretty respectable Triple Bend in his debut this year. And second off the layoff, I think he's poised to run a good one. He has been, he's run speed figures commensurate with these. He'll be running from off the pace. I think that's a good place to be. And I think of the other contenders in here, he certainly is the one with the class that can win this race. And tactically, I think he'll be in a really good position. So I'm going to go with Dr. Venkman. I liked what I saw from Durante last time in his last race, where they set those blistering fractions, and you look at that race, and he was up amongst the leaders, and early on, and then decided to settle back and kind of let them ding dong it around the track, and that wasn't Booth, by the way. It was the other Asmussen, whose name escapes me. The one who always raced poorly from the gate. You guys know who I mean. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Really hot day, too. Can't think of his name. But anyway, Durante, I thought, despite he was the beneficiary, certainly, of them running that quickly up front, but he ran a really good race. I don't think it was, you could say that he necessarily was just sort of the benefactor, and it maybe beclouded his form and maybe that made it look a little better than it was. I thought he ran a really good race, and I think he's going to run a good one here. Of the other horses in this race, he's certainly in really good form, and so I think you have to take him very seriously. And maybe if Dr. Venkman falters moving east, then Durante could be right there. So I like those two prominently in this race the best to beat Booth. Happy as a choice is certainly logical. He's a closer, and you got a lot of what I consider to be some dead wood in this race. Some horses who really aren't up to par, or aren't up to their prior form, or haven't been moving forward as they progress in their career. So Happy as a choice certainly could pick up the pieces without a doubt, but we're going to go against Booth here with Dr. Venkman in the Kelly's Landing. Third leg of the pick five is the Wise Dan. It's a grade 2, 10th race on the card, running a mile and a 16th on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. Pretty good field. Again, I don't know what it is about the sequence, but there's no pace in this race either. And it seems like it might even be a rematch of the Arlington, which happened at Churchill Downs last month. Mercanti found himself chasing Brilliant Birdie, and Mercanti, it's been 3 straight starts. It seems like he's been up on the lead or near it, and it seems like it's always been the races have all fit the same pattern. It's really haven't had a horse to point to chase, so he's ended up on the lead. Well, he's been no worse for wear. I really liked what I saw from him last time. This is a horse who certainly got it all together and is in great form right now. Really, I thought the Arlington became kind of a match race, if you think about it. It was Brilliant Birdie and it was Mercanti, and they went 1-2 all the way around the track. And, to me, that's not a great recipe for a great race, but it does demonstrate that they were the 2 best horses in that race, I think. You can't say that. We're faced with a very similar scenario, and it almost looks like it's going to be kind of the same thing. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Mercanti to take it, because he'll definitely be up near the lead. It's a way he's been successful running, and he's proven he's better than Brilliant Birdie. And I really think that's what that race said, is that Mercanti's just a better horse right now, because Brilliant Birdie had every chance to win that race. I certainly don't think Brilliant Birdie's in bad form. I just don't think he's as good as Mercanti right now. That's really all I could say about that, but I certainly want to use him. Maybe if they change tactics a little bit and take further back, where I think Brilliant Birdie might be more effective, then he may be able to turn the tables. That would leave Seminole Chief kind of pressing Mercanti, and I think that makes it even better for Mercanti. So that's kind of, either way, I think it's a better scenario for Mercanti. Me, Hermano Ramon, I've always liked this horse. I've picked him a couple of times out west, and I didn't think he did badly in the Pegasus, and I think this is a horse with quality. The question will be, we know he can run at Gulfstream, but Gulfstream and Santa Anita are very similar type of turf tracks. So let's see how we can do on a little deeper surface at Churchill Downs. But I think this is a quality horse. And I think Mark Glatt is an excellent trainer, and usually he can ship with no problem at all. I am a little discouraged that Hector Barrios, who's a great turf rider, if you didn't know, out in California, didn't make the trip. Antonio Fresu is certainly a nice substitute, but Hector's a really become a really nice turf rider, and I didn't think he was at first, but he's really become a really good one. So I think Miramano Ramona I like in this race. He should be tactically a little bit better positioned than the later runners, so that does give him a chance. But he may be playing for underneath as well. That's what I'm going to do with Laganos. Laganos to me has had every chance to break through, and he really hasn't done it. He seems to be always the bridesmaid. He's a nice horse. He's been a solid, if not spectacular, Grade 3 performer. And we'll probably get more of the same from him here with Flavian Pratt, who incidentally has not got this horse over the top in the last couple. And I think he'll run his race and it'll be good enough to get underneath, and that'll be the extent of it. He seems a little light on the speed figures, and that's really where I think the rubber meets the road for Laganos. But can he finish in the money? Absolutely. Fort Washington is a horse who's on a nice little roll right now. A couple of solid wins. I just don't know if the race shape really sets up well for him. I have never been a big fan of this horse. There was quite a bit of time in his career where he couldn't seem to get over the top, but excuse me. Shug seems to have found the magic formula with him the last couple. I don't know how good those fields were, but they weren't that much worse than this one. I consider this to be a pretty good Grade 2 field with a lot of good Grade 2 performers. The question I have is whether or not Fort Washington will have enough pace to run to get up in time. He certainly can do it, without a doubt. That's really my biggest question mark with Fort Washington, but certainly he's one that I would use in this race. So to me, this is kind of a repeat of the Arlington, and if that's the case, we're going to go with Mercanti as we did in that. Had him in that race. We're going to have him in this race too. I think it sets up well for him in the Wise Dan. Fourth leg of the late pick 5 is the featured race. It's the Stephen Foster, a Grade 1, 11th race on the card, running a mile and an eighth for 4-year-olds and up. And this is a small field, but it's a good one. This is a really nice race. I think should unfold. And incidentally, we do have an individual posting on this race, so if you want a little more analysis on it, I would encourage you to go there. But you talk about this race, and to me, what it comes down to is form. And Mystic Dan, to me, has the best form of any of the horses in this race. He proved in his last race that he's back. I mean, at least he's running well, let's say. And he's put 2 solid efforts together. And I think, this is a very logical spot for him to land when you consider the likes of First Mission or Skippy Longstocking or even Hit Show are more Grade 3 performers than they are Grade 1. We know who the best horse in this race is. It's Sierra Leone, without a doubt. But I think Chad Brown's pointing him to the Whitney. I can't see what this is the race that he has pointed Sierra Leone to. His last race was a little sluggish. He didn't have much pace to run to. I expect he will run better in this spot, but the peak effort will likely be in the Whitney. Chad Brown's a Saratoga guy. Nothing against the Stephen Foster. It's a hell of a good race. It's traditionally a great race at Churchill Downs. But I think that's the race he's pointing to. So Sierra Leone will run better than he did in his debut. I have no doubt about that. But I think that maybe he won't be tuned up all the way, and there isn't going to be a lot of pace to run to, I don't expect. It'll probably be Skippy Longstocking, I'm thinking. I think Mystic Dan is just in the best form. I'll speak about Mind Frame. Certainly this horse can win the race, but here's the thing about Mind Frame. Last year he had all kinds of promise, right? And the 2 races, he couldn't get by Dornoch, and both times we thought, well, he had the race won, and he just couldn't slam the door shut. Little Green, maybe too much too soon. Okay. So he debuts at 4, and he runs kind of a so-so 1-turn mile at Gulfstream, but they put him in another race, and yes, he won, but he didn't do so as convincingly as perhaps we should expect from Mindframe, or what he was touted to be, or what he appeared to be last year. There were about four different horses who could have won what was a really good race. I'm not going to deny that. It was a really good one-turn mile. But I just have some reservations about Mindframe. So I do question his form a little bit. And that's how I land on Mystic Dan. I just think he's in the best form. I think First Mission is a horse that every time he has moved up in class to the grade one level, he has not been a grade one performer. And he's had every chance to. So I think this is almost a grade three in a grade one's clothing to some extent. And I think of the horses, for Sierra Leone is the one true grade one horse. But again, because of the race cycle that he's in, I think Mystic Dan, having really good form, should be up amongst the leaders. We know what he's going to do. He's on a track that he loves. He'll hug the rails, save ground. Hopefully, won't be too far back. And if he continues in his good form, I think he's got a really good shot to win this race at a price. Just one final note. I did note this in my individual post in the Stephen Foster. Thoughts and prayers, of course, to the coach, D. Wayne Lucas, who did train Ashcroft up until this race. He's not good enough to run this race. It'd be a nice sentimental story if he could get one home for him, but I don't think it's going to happen. He was a pretty easy toss. But the coach, like him or not, whatever you feel about him, he's a credit to the sport. He has done a lot to grow thoroughbred racing, and he was a hell of a trainer. You can't argue with his record, and he will be sorely missed on the track. And so, thoughts and prayers to D. Wayne Lucas's family. So, but we have to move on, and we will, and we'll look at Mystic Dan in the Stephen Foster. Last leg of the Late Pick 5 is the American Derby. It's ungraded at 250,000. 12th race on the card, running a mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds. And we've got a few familiar faces in this one, including a couple of Derby runners, Flying Mohawk and Tiztastic. Of the two, I'm willing to give Flying Mohawk a shot here. Now, it is encouraging to me, anyway, that in the Ohio Derby, Chunk of Gold came back and ran. I thought he ran his race. And I only say that it is, true that you can get a horse to come out of the Kentucky Derby and can follow it up with a good race, given the amount of time and whatnot. So, Flying Mohawk, obviously, dirt wasn't his thing. He didn't do a whole lot of running in that race. But prior to that, he had displayed some really good improvement and progression on the turf. And you note on Belmont Day, they scratched him out, which probably had to do with the soft turf, but that does give him a little more time and to get ready for this race. And I think it's probably a little lesser field, perhaps, than he would have been facing. So the big thing with this race is there's no pace at all. Not a bit. You look at the race shape, and really the only one who I think maybe could go to the lead would be Flying Mohawk, because he did try to wire the field in the Pilgrim, and he faded late for fifth, but he hung in there. And, like I say, on the upswing, back on his preferred surface, and without any pace in this race, you got most of the prominent runners here are late runners. He's got a shot. So he needs to take another step forward, but I see no reason why he can't. So we're going to throw Flying Mohawk in the mix, and I was very close to putting him on top in what I consider to be a pretty wide open race, despite the presence of Reagan's Wit. Giacoso is a horse I admittedly have a fetish for. I just can't seem to shake this one. I've given him a lot of chances, and at 2 years old, I was pretty high on him, and he really hasn't panned out. But he's teasing me again, because his last race, while he was no threat to win, he did display a good turn of foot, and He seems to be, inching, getting a little bit better, maybe a little more comfortable. And this is the kind of race that maybe at a price he can factor in this race. Um, it, there's a few horses in here. It's kind of a tough call on here. I'll admittedly say like Anagata from Mike Maker. I was pretty close to, or Soleil Volant. You can see a little bit there, but he was no match for Reagan's Wit last time in a similar race, and I just have a feeling there's others that are better, and I don't see him beating Reagan's Wit or some of the others if he's on his game. So but is a horse I wouldn't blame you at all if you want to consider. So we're going to give Giacoso a shot. Turf is a better surface for him, and maybe if he can stay up a little closer to whoever takes the lead, he may be in a good position to factor late. He will have to take a step forward, though. That is for certain. Reagan's Wit really hasn't done anything wrong. I think really the only issue has been so far with this horse is they got a little ambitious, putting him in the Transylvania, and he's for the moment he doesn't appear to be a graded stakes horse. However, in the ungraded stakes field, he's very good. His last race he won with authority. He really didn't beat a whole lot. And again, Soleil Volant was no match for him in the stretch. Uh, but so he's back here. My only issue is this. I mean, I don't think this horse necessarily needs pace to run to. It's just maybe it's time for a downer. This horse has run pretty consistently well, and I believe it's the third, and the form cycle just concluded. So this is a new form cycle, and I mean I have no reservation with anybody wanting to put Reagan's Wit to win it. We'll certainly use in the sequence, but I'm gonna try to beat because it just seems like kind of a funky race without a really conventional race shape, and moreover, there's a lot of closers in this race, and whenever there's a lot of closers, things can happen, and it's about who gets the trip. So perhaps Reagan's Wit to me wouldn't be as strong a favorite as if there was maybe a more conventional race shape, let's say. So I think he can take a shot beating Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz, always a tall order. But I think maybe this is the time that you do it. I could be wrong, and we'll use Reagan's Wit, but I will try to beat in my individual wagers. Tistastic is 2 for 2 on turf. We know this, but we also know that this horse is pretty one-paced. And, he ran an okay Derby, probably ran about as good a Derby as to be expected. Um, and I mean, the kind of running style he has, boy, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to put him on the lead in this race, and just, because distance is his friend and he's pretty one paced, and if he just gets out in front, maybe nobody will catch him. But coming from off the pace, that one paced type of style, I think there's others I prefer better, and I want to see one first before I get on the Tistastic bandwagon. But again, he could very well take a step forward and return back to run better on turf, and maybe that makes him a more of a player here. But I'll wait and see. Same thing I'll say about Siesta Key for Brad Cox. One of the things about Brad Cox that I know is that when he's not overly certain about a horse, he debuts them at Indiana Grand. He debuted Siesta Key at Indiana Grand. And this horse was unspectacular, to say the least, for Godolphin. Now, obviously, a lot can change over the course of time, and this horse could very well be a lot better. Flavian Pratt in the irons is certainly a good sign, but I just couldn't see enough there other than the presence of Flavian Pratt, to get really excited. And there are other closers who have been better success more recently. And so I'm just going to let Siesta Key go because he's probably going to eat a lot of money, and I got to see him prove it first. So that's the story with Siesta Key. Now, The last two I want to talk about are Minaret Station, who I'm picking to win here, and Native Runner. Minaret Station, I have been waiting for this horse to run for the whole 3-year-old year. I loved that race at Keeneland, that last one, with 38 to 1. He just had such an explosive kick in the stretch. I never thought he was going to get there. And all of a sudden, bang, he just, just kicked it into high gear and blew them away when it didn't look like he had a chance to at all. Now, I will say his back class prior to that race was not great, was okay. And maybe it was just a matter of the light bulb going off, or maybe he freaked that day. I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that this horse has got some pretty nice quality, and Will Walden is killing it at Churchill right now. The barn is red hot, so why not go with him in a race again that's not form fitting? And so I'm going to try to beat Reagan's Wit with a price with Minaret Station because I really love that turn of foot I saw, and let's just see if has matured over time, over the course of the winter, and it's I just really want to. I've really been looking forward to seeing this horse run, so I'm going to go with him. Native Runner, I liked his last race too. He had a nice kick in the stretch at Churchill Downs for Kenny McPeak, and he is one that I had liked earlier in the year, but on dirt. And he didn't run badly, but not as well as I thought. So now he's back. He's on turf, and I really liked the turn of foot I had. And he ran a nice figure first time off the bench, second off the layup. He's liable to improve. I like Native Runner in here, and I think he's certainly one that you can use comfortably in this spot. So now let's take a look at our ticket. Okay, so here's our ticket. In the 8th race, the Tepin, we're going to go with Lush Lips and Vixen. I think it's a 2-horse race. It's one of those two, but we'll go with Lush Lips as our primary selection. On race 9, we're going to go with 1 and 8. And then in race 10, we're going to go with 3, 4, 7, and 8. These turf races are pretty tricky. The last couple, I think for sure, the Wisden and the American Derby. So we'll spread there. In the Stephen Foster, honestly, the way it looks to me, I think you have to pick a horse and just stay there. Now, that said, I can't quite make Mystic Dan a single, whereas I can't do it with Mindframe or Sierra Leone. To me, using 3 horses in the race is to me is a little overkill. I just think you have to pick one. Now, I'm going to throw Mindframe in there because maybe some of you don't think in that fashion, and I understand it. If I had to choose between Sierra Leone and Mindframe, I will take Mindframe. So I'm going to throw him as an alternative, kind of reluctantly. Would really rather just single and either hit or miss with it. But that we'll go with the 2 and the 5 there. And then finally, American Derby, we'll go 1, 2, 5, and 6. And Minaret Station, I think, hopefully we'll get a price on. And if this horse can come back at 3, like I think, it could be for a nice upset, which makes for a nice payday. So that's 2 times 2 times 4 times 2 times 4. That's $64 ticket on a 50-cent base. And I think that gives us some pretty healthy chances to take down what could be a pretty good ROI. I don't think it's overly chalky here, save for maybe the first couple. And if we can get home Dr. Venkman against Booth, that might set things up pretty well for a pretty good payout. So anyway, I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And again, thanks so much to all of you who have grown our community and continue to do so. Very much appreciate it. Love the comments. Keep those coming. You guys are great for them. Andrew, you just keep coming, and I love it. So you get a gold star this week because you've been had some really good participation the last couple of weeks. So just wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for being such a loyal subscriber. I appreciate it very much. We will have the full card for Churchill Downs, best bets, value plays, sequences, all that good stuff. You'll get that later in the week. And we're starting to gear up for Saratoga. They're going to open up on the 10th, I believe, which is a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So we will start gearing up for that, and Del Mar as it follows along, and we'll just keep going all the way through. The Haskell coming up. I'm thinking about going. It's a very good possibility I'll be there. I've never been to Monmouth Park, so if you're going to go, you may see me there. And if you do, stop by and say hello. We'll have a cocktail and maybe a cigar together. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.